Hi everyone, I'm Ali, and today I will present you my informative speech about football. So let's begin. I think that almost every one of you has heard of football. Most likely so because football is the most popular sport in the world, watched by billions of people every day. The World Cup gathers even people who are not interested in football on their screen. Uh, I want to mention that I have enough rights to talk about football in Barcelona, especially because since I'm a football fan for almost 3 years, I missed most a few of its games, and I'm quite well acquainted with the history of the club of football, Club Barcelona. Um, it may seem to you that this topic has nothing to do with you, but it's not, because my main task in this speech is to tell you something interesting, something new, something that can encourage you. And I'm sure that Barcelona and football at all are really interesting because football is not only kicking the ball, football is about passion, football is about feelings, and football is about emotions. My central idea is to tell you why Barcelona is more than a club. I will prove it to you in three main points. So let's begin from the first of them. First of them is the democracy of Barcelona and Catalan. So what does it mean? For most, you need to be clear about what this is about. The fact is that Barcelona and is not only the name of the football club. Firstly, it is capital, its city, it's capital of Catalonia, which is part of Spain. And in the 20th century, the question of the independence of Catalonia was very acute. It still stands now, but fortunately, now everything is happening relatively peacefully. Football Club Barcelona, in turn, has been and remains imbued with Catalan culture since its inception, which is why, as Ryan Kelly noted in 2019 in his article Mes Que Club Barcelona Club Motto Meaning and History in Catalan Independence on the Goal website, Barcelona became a fortress for those who fought for the independence of Catalonia. Thus, the question of the independence of Catalonia left a really big mark in the history of Barcelona and definitely influenced the phrase Mescan Club. And I think it's the main point why this phrase happened, Mescan Club more than a club on the English. The next important point why Barcelona is more than a club, it's its own DNA. Barcelona is the only team in the world that has its own philosophy, its own tactic, and its own style of the game. It is named Total Football. It's hard to and some general information for you guys. Football is a tactical game and a team game. It's hard to argue with that. There are tactics for defense, attacking. There are tactics for counterattacks, and so on. It follows from this that some trainers came up with tactics at the very beginning. One of the brightest and most dominant tactics is the idea of a new total football. Total football, it means when your team is dominating on the pitch. It means that you have more ball possession, more passes, you have, and it means that you have more goals, of course, and you win. This idea of new total football belongs to the great player and coach, Dutch coach Johan Cruyff. As Kadi Sirigar pointed out in 2018 in his article "What is Total Football" on the Goal website, Johan Cruyff is synonymous with the philosophy of total football. He embodied this tactic as a coach in Dutch Ajax. It's a club in the uh, Amsterdam, if I'm sure, and then in Barcelona. At that time, Barcelona was almost the only team in the world that played total football in that way. The so-called tiki-taka, it's when players pass a ball to each other only in one touch, fascinates all football fans around the world. And thanks to their unique game, Barcelona began to be called a team with its own DNA. It's the only team that has its own DNA. And now the time has come for the extreme reason for such a phrase, Mes Que Club. Barcelona Youth Academy La Masia. The fact is that football players do not work out in a day. In order to become a professional football player, you need to start training from an early age. In this regard, there are football academies all around the world where football is taught. One of these is La Masia. From Catalan, La Masia translates like farmhouse. There, the future stars of football European pro leagues are taught the basics of football and put the core philosophy of the club. The philosophy of the club has its own two phrases, which are already known for us. It's more than a club, Mes Que club, and total football. It is true that many of greats of the football world have their own academies, but perhaps La Masia is uh, one of the few of academies that is so popular and have such a reputation in the world. One of the reasons for this was her graduates. You know one of them. It's Lionel Messi. And there are a lot of others. It's Javier Hernandez, Andres Iniesta, Carlos Puyol, Victor Valdez, Gerard Piqué, and so on. They are forever inscribed in the history of football. And Ryan Kelly in 2019, already in her other article entitled "What is La Masia" on the website, emphasized that the Catalan conveyor belt of La Masia players have been providing real football stars for several generations of football players in a row. It is thanks to the peculiarity of La Masia and her reputation that she occupies a huge part in the club. Finally, I want to say that I have tried to tell you about three important aspects that really allow Barcelona to be called more than a club. Thus, the Catalan struggle for independence, the Barcelona DNA, and the La Masia Youth Academy have formed Football Club Barcelona as a uh, club that is more than a club. Mes Que club, yes. So thank you for your attention. I hope you are interested in hearing about the best club in the world. And see you soon, guys. Goodbye.